Today is Monday, January 4th, 2021. The time is 11:02 a.m. This is our weekly Commissioner Status Meeting. Attending are Commissioners Duncan, Brooks, and Fillios. Do we have any changes to the agenda? Hearing none. First item, snow groomer pass ordinance change assessor fees. Leslie?
Yep, I'll let Nick talk about this one.
Thank you, Nick Snyder for the record. Good morning, Commissioners. This is fairly straightforward. There's some changes are needed to County Ordinance 474, which speaks to the collection of fees for the county snow groomer stickers. And this is essentially caused by changes both at the state and the county level. As the board's probably aware, vehicle licensing is no longer able to sell state registrations for boats and snowmobiles, ATVs, and other recreational vehicles. Those are now sold exclusively by Idaho State Parks. And since we were assigned the department earlier in 20, we have created a website which essentially mirrors Parks and Waterways, where you can purchase your groomer sticker online. And of course, we have customers coming in, so you can purchase it here as well. Additionally, we've created little handouts for Idaho State Parks in the event people come in to purchase their registrations for boats and snowmobiles now, and they are directing them up to our office. So the short of it is, Commissioners, Ordinance 474, which has a lot of language in it about the assessor selling the passes, collecting the fees, working with vendors, those are now, that is now time to get rid of it in short. And a different discussion will have to be had with the Commissioners to see if they would like a resolution to dictate where those monies go, or in fact just a memo from the board. I can happy to write it, but at any rate, I'm here this morning to request some direction from the board as to how to proceed. My recommendation would be to work with Jamila and draft us a new resolution to correct some of these things and bring it back to you for consideration.
Okay. So I guess my question would be for Dena. Can we make this retroactive, or everything they've sold it to so far? Because my understanding is the change happened before this season. So
Melissa went and looked in the system to see where the actual revenues were going, and as of right now, County Snowmobile gets, the park side gets 60%, and Sheriff gets 40%, and motor vehicle licensing gets 0.
Okay. But we're talking two separate things. We're talking groomer stickers and we're talking registration. So
okay, so this is for groomers.
Stickers. Okay, so it's for the stickers.
Okay.
For groomers, for county only.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. All right, so then, my direction would be for Nick to work with Jamila, and if Jamila feels a memo is sufficient, fine. If she feels a resolution is necessary.
Bill?
Yeah.
You okay?
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Nick, got that? So you'll work with
Yes,
Jamila
thank
to
you.
draft something? Yeah. And she can determine
I'll get it
whether
done.
a simple memo or a resolution is needed.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'll get it done.
Okay, thanks, Nick.
Thanks, Nick.
Second item, unfunded mandate resolution to our legislators.
Yeah, there are a couple counties who are looking to write a resolution to the legislators and to the governor. And so I think that it's okay to join that bandwagon and do our own. I did send you both copies of it, and if you'd like, I can read it to you, or if you're still familiar with it.
Go right ahead.
Okay. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Kootenai County Commissioners calls for the Idaho legislature and the governor to pass legislation to prohibit the imposition of responsibility for new programs or increased levels of service under existing programs on any political subdivision of the state unless the subdivision is fully reimbursed by the state for costs of the new programs or increase to funding capacity. Reimbursement by the state may be made by A, specific appropriation, or B, increases in state distributions of revenue to political subdivisions. So essentially, it's just a kind way of saying, hey, don't give us any more unfunded mandates. We're not really keeping up with what we have now. And so if you guys are okay with this, I will have this drafted and we can sign it and send it off.
Bill?
I am, as long as we can get a copy to our legislative team individually mailed to each one of them, so.
Yep.
'Cause they're where it's at. It's not, the governor's not gonna make a big decision here.
Well, and this is as good a year as any to do it, because the state's running a $600 million deficit.
That's
So
right.
if we're not gonna do it now, I don't think it's
Surplus.
ever gonna, excuse me, surplus.
Surplus
Big
deficits.
Yeah.
Thank you. It just,
That's a whole nother, 180 degrees, okay. Fair enough.
Okay.
Moving forward, okay. Pending item status review. First one, Citizen Advisory Committee, you're still holding off until the middle of the month,
yep,
Bill?
I am.
Okay. Facilities expansion.
All right.
Leslie, Shawn?
Yep, I think Shawn might have the latest. We're having a telephone conference, maybe next Tuesday. Is that right, Shawn?
Yeah, LCA is going to call in, and we need to make sure we invite all of the stakeholders that are going to move into the new building. I have a conference call with the LCA team tomorrow at 10:30 to just kind of go over what might be taking place on the 12th.
Okay,
So we need to make sure we get all the stakeholders at that meeting.
sure. Or at least listening in.
Or, yeah, calling in or in present, yes.
Fair enough. Okay, any other thoughts on that? None? Pack Airport lease?
Yeah, it's a slow process, so I think at this point, nothing's come before the PAC board, but they are looking for trading, grants, and grant writing and the grant process for rent at PAC. So I'll just be following up every month and figuring out, when something will come before us formally.
Fourth item, OEM relocation. That's in, Shawn?
We can, I'm happy to announce that we can remove this from the pending status. We are done. I have one more meeting. There were just a few small items left on the punch list. Leslie has a picture of what the new EOC looks like, how that room turned out. So we got everything done on time and paid on time.
Hallelujah.
Okay,
Thank you, Shawn.
thank you, appreciate
You're
it,
welcome.
well done. Final item,
No,
well, actually, no, there are two items, okay, so 1A, 1B, which is this room right here, audio upgrade. Nancy Jones, do you want to comment?
Good morning, Commissioners. Nancy Jones for the record. I did want to take a moment and ask you for potentially a little direction on this. As you're aware, Carrie Cole and I have been looking into some options with the audiovisual, because what we've discovered is the new on-base document management system has some integrations we may be interested in using long-term. After looking at that and considering the annual maintenance fee that goes with that, as well as the idea that the board, if you're looking seriously at moving BOCC offices to the new building, Carrie and I spoke last week and both determined that for our advice, we would say to move forward with the existing proposal to improve the audiovisual in this room, and then look at the on-base integration as we look at moving into a new building.
gotcha.
So that is our recommendation right now.
The on-base integration is still gonna have that high ongoing cost.
It's not a huge cost, but it's enough that I think we would have to have that conversation, certainly, and looking at what it would mean for the hardware to make it happen. And it is a great system. It has a lot of features, I think, long-term we may want to look at, but we were gonna wanna take a deep dive before I think we jump into that.
Fair enough. Makes perfect sense to me, because we don't have to make a decision on that particular upgrade until we get further along with the building. And I think the proposal by Josh, what's the name of his firm,
EVCO.
is concrete. I think it's proven technology, and I think we ought to be going ahead with it for this facility. Those
Yeah.
are my thoughts.
Yeah,
So you'll need to bring a contract before us.
right, so
at a
if that's
business
your
meeting.
direction, I'll go and talk with him and start getting that moving forward. Right now, because of the backlog on getting that kind of equipment. If we get it ordered, we'll move to the contract, get it ordered, but we're probably still looking at least 8 weeks out.
Okay.
And then this room will be, we will not have video for about 10 days in this room as we go through the installation, so
Okay.
Got it.
we'll work through that. All right, thank you,
You
Commissioners.
okay with that?
I think
Okay,
so.
thank you, Nancy. Okay, final item, and one of the more important at that, financial snapshot. Our finance director, Darrow, go right ahead, Dena.
Thank you. So, in trying to serve you better as your finance director, I wanted to bring forward just some stats for you. And thank you, Commissioner Duncan, for putting this on the status update. So this is a work in progress. This is kind of a first pass. So I was thinking about, okay, if I were a decision maker, what would I want to know? What would I want to have at the forefront? So just looking at this at the top right, you can see as of the 20th, when I took this snapshot of data, this is where you're at as far as the budget goes. The BOCC number is a little high because I do have the medical in there. I'm going to pull that out separately for next week, so it looks a little
okay.
high,
I
but
was
that's
just gonna ask
why.
you that. Thank
Yeah, it's Fund 14, so it's like a duplication. So anyway, this is just kind of a first try at this. So assigned fund balance, and then at 9:30, and then at 12:30, the assigned fund balance reduced by what we used for the budget. And then unassigned is where we're sitting right now at the end of FY20. So it's increased some, and we'll be looking at our assigned, unassigned fund balance policy soon. So we'll be shuffling money between those two. And then the committed fund balance, when we came forward to talk about paying for the building, we said we have this committed money. We could decommit. Well, we've spent all but 1.7 million of that. A lot of that is driven by the KEC building. So that's where you're sitting with your fund balances. And then below here, fund balance use, restricted fund balance use, but just some of the things that have been approved since 10/1. So you're at about 338,000. And then payroll, this I'm also going to bring in when we do our HR meetings, probably starting next week. What your current biweekly payroll is, the out-of-budget payroll changes that are not funded by salary savings or whatever, those ongoing costs. So you kind of have a running total, and then what your annual payroll is as well, so that when we open up the budget and you say, oh God, this is our starting number, it's not a surprise. So that's what that is. And then just out-of-budget spending in general. Operating, it's still really early in the year. We're just through the first quarter, so everybody's pretty okay. And then there were 2 vehicle purchases that were out of budget that we're hoping to absorb through the year, so I popped those in there. So then the graphs just correspond to the data. So if you have any questions, I can answer that. And as the weeks go on, give me some feedback, let me know what you'd like to see, and I can just modify it.
Do you think doing this the first Monday of every month is good, or do you think you want to do it every week?
You can do it as much as you want to do it,
Okay,
Monthly should suffice.
okay?
I think so. So we'll start that way, and then if we,
Let's start with that, and if we need more visibility, we can always go
Yeah,
weekly.
and once we get into the budget, you're going to be seeing these numbers a lot. But I just felt like, you've got some big, weighty decisions coming up, so I just kind of wanted to have this at the forefront.
well, and, oh, go ahead, sorry.
I was hoping, thinking about the next budget, that we don't start with, everybody add 2%. I don't want to do that.
Well, I don't think we can. I think the goals are
That's
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely, but this at least gives a starting point, so I encourage you to send me suggestions.
Okay, your opinion on something. Given the proposals that appear to be coming out of the banking committee at the legislative level,
Yes.
the legislature level rather, specifically with regard to fund balance, what's your take? How do you think we might be impacted?
I think we're going to not have the ability to save up any fund
Grow
balance.
the fund balance.
Can't really grow the fund balance, but there could be subtleties in there. We haven't seen the actual verbiage. It's like, well, if we're saving for something, can
Correct.
we call that, a special assigned balance or some kind of a reserve we could put in there? So that'll be something in the details we'll definitely want to be asking questions about, because I can't imagine them wanting to turn every county to being in debt.
Yeah, to be responsible should be encouraged,
Right.
not discouraged.
But, you know, we've seen very preliminary language, and they haven't debated it, so it's hard to interpret what the goal is.
Well, once again, I think you have some counties who are not necessarily as fiscally responsible as Kootenai's been, and so that is what is spurring some of these changes. So you've got some entities that have these large fund balances that are not, they're overtaxing, essentially. That's why they have fund balance, they're overtaxing. And Kootenai County hasn't really been doing that. I mean, $1 million return on a $100 million budget, I mean, that, to me, that's not overtaxing. And $1 million seems like a huge, huge thing, but our payroll every week or every 2 weeks is 2.5.
Right.
So, yeah, I do understand that, and I've obviously always tried to be very frugal with our taxpayer dollars, but I think that having what I have seen, I think Kootenai County is still going to be protected on this.
Well, so I guess we're in wait and see
Yeah,
mode.
it's gonna be interesting, because most of the counties, fund balance really isn't an issue. I shouldn't say it's not an issue, it's a major issue in that they really can't build it. Because most of the counties are either taking the full 3% and half are dipping into foregone. So the argument that counties are building fund balance, there may be a couple, three that are, but I think overall, most of the counties are nowhere near the financial condition to be able to do that.
Well,
Be that as it may.
as we see more unfunded mandates too, I think this is a good idea
It's gonna be interesting.
to say something about that, because that could gobble up any reserves
Yeah.
very quickly. So, thank you.
Anything else? Thanks a lot, Dena. Public comment. Hearing none. 11:19, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.